Before I start this review, I'd just like to thank Quiver Distribution for sending this screener over to me to check out just a little bit early and let you guys know if this film is worth a watch. Today we'll be talking about the drama film called Fresh Kills, which will be coming to New York and Los Angeles on June the 14th with an expansion to follow. So stick around, let's talk about it. Fresh Kills explores the vivid life through the lens of Rose LaRussa, an inquisitive young woman who discovers her father is an emerging mafia kingpin. Rose's growing desire to break free from the path set before her soon threatens her existence and alienates her from her closest allies, her mother, aunt, and sister. The film stars Emily Badir, Odessa A'zion, Jennifer Esposito, and Domenick Lombardozzi, and was directed by Jennifer Esposito, and this is her directorial debut. Going into Fresh Kills, I didn't know anything about this film. I knew it had something to do with the mafia, but I didn't look up anything about this film. I didn't look up a trailer and went into it very fresh, no pun intended. Now, what I did like about this film is the 80s hairstyle, the 80s music. Though this takes place between the late 80s and early 90s, and we're following these two little girls, Connie and Rose. We're following them from their younger childhood up to adulthood, in which they get married. We know that their father is a part of the mafia, and their boyfriends that eventually turn to their husbands, they're part of the mafia as well. Now, Connie, I really did like her character. She is very rebellious. She made things very interesting, and I thought her acting was really well done throughout this film. I also did like the last 20 minutes of this film. It's very dramatic. There's a lot of trauma going down, and things really go over the edge and really come about and really make it really interesting within that last 20 minutes of the film. There's a lot of negatives though with this film. First off, we'll start off with the runtime. This is 2 hours long. The whole idea of having two women actually go through the fact of the whole mafia aspect and the fact that their father's a part of it and their husbands, it sounds very interesting. But the thing is this. So the father, in the beginning of the film, we see him, he is talking to another guy, and we see these two little girls. They are in the car and they are overhearing their father, and they actually spot the fact that he has a gun. So obviously he's a part of something, whether it's some type of gang or whatever it is, but we know that he's a part of the mafia. That's really the only time that we really ever see him be involved in any kind of mafia kind of activity, although you would suspect that he could be involved in anything. He could be involved in a gang. He could be really involved in anything. So I really didn't really get the vibe of the mafia here. There's a few little parts in here where we'll see stuff being hidden, like guns and money, and that could be anything. They could be drug dealers. They could be stealing from people. I mean, I just never got the whole mafia vibe here. It's not like it's The Godfather and we have them just screwing people left and right and killing people left and right, because there isn't action in this film. There's only action within the last 20 minutes of the film involving some gunplay, but there really isn't a lot of that in this film. It's a lot of just going through progressions of these two girls. We see them through the young childhood and then going to adulthood, and I felt like a lot of times the characters, they weren't really changing. It's like they gave off the illusion of like, okay, these characters, they're changing because they're now older, and I just never really felt that. Rose, she is the more quieter sister, and she's very mute, and she doesn't really talk really whatsoever. She always has this blank expression on her face, and I just felt even though she was getting older, she never really changed. She never really progressed, and I never felt like anything was really happening with her character that was very interesting. Other than the fact that these two ladies, they actually get married, I just felt like not a lot was really happening. There's a lot of arguing in this film about a whole bunch of different things, family drama, which if you're really into that, you'll really like that aspect of it. But I just really never felt with this film that we ever got a grip of the whole mafia situation and why the father was in the mafia or how he really got involved in the mafia. I felt the plot here was just very non-existent. I felt like they could have done a lot more, maybe had a little bit more trauma, and the fact that the father actually does go to prison, I just didn't really get the vibe that those sisters really cared all that much. It just felt like he was just in a few scenes here, and I never really got the vibe that this man was just a very dangerous man and you should watch out for him. Though I do think with this film, what they do get right is the fact that it does have some commentary towards kids that are born into a certain family. For instance, in general, this relates to real life. You can be born into money. You can be born into the fact that you don't have a lot of money, or you can be born into parents that have a really messed up situation, like being in the mafia or drug dealers or alcoholics. Those kinds of situations, I can understand where they're coming from in trying to tackle into the mind of these two little girls that are dealing with a situation that they didn't ask for, and their family is a part of something that is just so terrible, and they're not that kind of person. So they're dealing with people that are dealing with all this drama and dealing with things that they really just don't want to tackle throughout their life, but they have to deal with it because they don't really have a choice. They're forced into this life. They're forced into the bad decisions that their parents made, the drama that has to invoke with their parents, and the fact that they have to live in a negative environment throughout most of their life. And then also the fact that they are married, they're dealing still with more of this whole crap that they don't want to deal with. Connie has a little girl as well, so there is another little kid involved that's a part of the family. So it's a big circle when you're starting to involve more and more people into this family. So in that aspect, it's interesting. But the fact is that this film, it doesn't have enough events to keep the film actually interested and actually make you feel like you just want to keep watching and make you feel like a lot is really going on. It just feels like there's just not enough to keep it entertaining. With all that in mind, I would give a score of this film a 2 out of 5. I know I didn't really say a whole lot about this film, but to be honest with you, there's not a lot to talk about. There's not a lot going on. It seems a lot more interesting on paper than the film actually gives the viewer. And I'm just not sure how people are going to take this film. I haven't seen a ton of reviews on it. A few that I have seen have really liked it. And I was like, I wonder what they really liked about it. Because to me, I understand movies are subjective, but to me, there's just not enough story here. It's just not interesting enough. There's not enough events happening. There's just not enough here to grip the viewer. And I was just never gripped by this story. I just felt like there were a lot of small events happening, but not enough to really make it interesting where you could really get into the head of these two little girls. Just small little parts here and there where you're like, okay, that's cool. And then the last 20 minutes, which really heightened the whole experience of everything that really went down. So those are my thoughts on this movie. Thank you guys for watching. If you are going to check out this film, let me know. I understand it doesn't have a big expansion yet, but if you guys do check out this film, if it comes to streaming or if it comes to VOD anytime soon, definitely let me know what you guys thought about it. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys next time.